kids! Today we're going to start a new chapter book. This book is called Ramona the Pest, and it's by an author named Beverly Cleary. These books have been around since I was a kid. They were some of my favorite books when I was growing up. Beverly Cleary has a whole series of books about this character named Ramona and her big sister named Beezus. There's even a movie of these characters that you might check out if you like this book. This book is called Ramona the Pest, and it's all about Ramona when she starts kindergarten. Since it's a chapter book, there's not a picture on every page. So when there is a picture, I'll show it to you. And when there isn't a picture, see if you can make your own picture in your mind. We're going to start the first chapter today. It's called Ramona's Great Day. "I am not a pest," Ramona Quimby told her big sister Beezus. "Then stop acting like a pest," said Beezus, whose real name was Beatrice. She was standing by the front window waiting for her friend Mary Jane to walk to school with her. "I'm not acting like a pest, I'm singing and skipping," said Ramona, who had only recently learned to skip with both feet. What does it mean to be a pest? Do you know that word? See if you can tell what it means by this story. Is Ramona doing something that Beezus likes her to do? Ramona did not think she was a pest. No matter what other people said, she never thought she was a pest. The people who called her a pest were always bigger, so they could be unfair. Ramona went on with her singing and skipping. "This is a great day, this is a great day, a great day, a great day," she sang. And to Ramona, who was feeling grown up in a dress instead of play clothes, this was a great day, the greatest day of her whole life. No longer would she have to sit on her tricycle watching Beezus and Henry Huggins and the rest of the boys and girls in the neighborhood go off to school. Today, she was going to school too. Today, she was going to learn to read and write and do all the things that would help her catch up with Beezus. "Come on, Mama," urged Ramona, pausing in her singing and skipping. "We don't want to be late for school." "Don't pester, Ramona," said Mrs. Quimby. "I'll get you there in plenty of time." "I am not pestering," said Ramona, who never meant to pester. She was not a slowpoke grown-up. She was a girl who could not wait. Life was so interesting, and she had to find out what happened next. And then Mary Jane arrived. "Mrs. Quimby, would it be all right if Beezus and I took Ramona to school?" she asked. "No," said Ramona instantly. Mary Jane was one of those girls who always wanted to pretend she was a mother and who wanted to pretend that Ramona was a baby. Nobody was going to catch Ramona being a baby on the first day of school. "Why not?" Mrs. Quimby asked Ramona. "You could walk to school with Beezus and Mary Jane just like a big girl." "No, I couldn't." Ramona was not fooled for an instant. Mary Jane would talk in that silly voice she used when she was being a mother. She would take her by the hand and help her across the street, and everyone would think she was a baby. "Please, Ramona," coaxed Beezus. "It would be lots of fun to take you and to introduce you to your kindergarten teacher." "No," said Ramona, and she stamped her foot. Beezus and Mary Jane might have fun, but she would not. Nobody but a genuine grown-up was going to take her to school. If she had to, she would make a big, great, noisy fuss. And when Ramona made a big, great, noisy fuss, she usually got her own way. Great, big, noisy fusses were often necessary when a girl was the youngest member of a family and the youngest person on the block. "All right, Ramona," said Mrs. Quimby, "don't make a big, great, big, noisy fuss. If that's the way you feel about it, you don't have to walk with the girls. I'll take you." "Hurry, Mama," said Ramona happily as she watched Beezus and Mary Jane go out the door. But when Ramona finally got her mother out of the house, she was disappointed to see one of her mother's friends, Mrs. Kemp, approaching with her son Howie and little sister Willa Jean, who was riding in a stroller. "Hurry, Mama," urged Ramona, not wanting to wait for the Kemps. Because their mothers were friends, she and Howie were expected to get along too. "Hi there," said Mrs. Kemp. So of course Ramona's mother had to wait. Howie stared at Ramona. He did not like having to get along with her any more than she liked having to get along with him. Ramona stared back. Howie was a solid-looking boy with curly blonde hair. Such a waste on a boy, his mother often remarked. The legs of his new jeans were turned up, and he was wearing a new shirt with long sleeves. He did not look the least bit excited about starting kindergarten, and that was the trouble with Howie, Ramona thought. He never seemed excited. Straight-haired Willa Jean, who was interesting to Ramona because she was sloppy, blew out a mouthful of wet crumbs and laughed at her cleverness. "Today my baby leaves me," remarked Mrs. Quimby with a smile as the little group proceeded down Klickitat Street toward Glenwood School. Ramona, who enjoyed being her mother's baby, did not enjoy being called her mother's baby in front of Howie. "They do grow up quickly," observed Mrs. Kemp. Ramona could not understand why grown-ups always talked about how quickly children grew up. Ramona thought growing up was the slowest thing there was, slower even than waiting for Christmas to come. She had been waiting years just to get to kindergarten, and the last half hour was the slowest part of all. When the group reached the intersection near the school, Ramona was pleased to see that Beezus' friend Henry Huggins was the traffic boy in charge of that corner. After Henry had led them across the street, Ramona ran off toward the kindergarten, which was a temporary wooden building in its own playground. Mothers and children were already entering the open door, and some of the children looked frightened, and one child was even crying. "We're late," cried Ramona. "Hurry!" Howie was not a boy to be hurried. "I don't see any tricycles," he said critically. "I don't see any dirt to dig in." Ramona was scornful. "This is not preschool. Tricycles and dirt are for preschool." Her own tricycle was hidden in the garage because it was too babyish for her now that she was going to kindergarten. Some big first-grade boys ran past them yelling, "Kindergarten babies! Kindergarten babies!" "We are not babies," Ramona yelled back, and she led her mother into the kindergarten. Once inside, she stayed so close to her. Everything was so strange, and there was so much to see. There was little tables and chairs and rows of cupboards, each with their own picture on top. The teacher, who was new to Glenwood School, turned out to be so young and so pretty she could not have been grown up for very long. It was rumored she had never even taught school before. "Hello, Ramona. My name is Miss Binny," she said, speaking each syllable distinctly as she pinned Ramona's name to her dress. "I am so glad you have come to kindergarten." And then she led Ramona by the hand to a little table with chairs. "Sit here for the present," she said. "A present?" thought Ramona. And at once she was going to like Miss Binny. So her teacher said, "Sit here for the present." Ramona says, "Yay, I'm getting a present." And there's Miss Binny, and there's Ramona. "Goodbye, Ramona," said Mrs. Quimby. "Be a good girl." As she watched her mother walk out the door, Ramona decided school was going to be even better than she had hoped. Nobody had told her she was going to get a present the very first day. What kind of present could it be, she wondered, trying to remember if Beezus had ever gotten a present from her teacher. Ramona listened carefully while Miss Binny showed Howie to a table, but all he said to her was, "Howie, I would like you to sit here." Well, thought Ramona, not everyone is going to get a present, so Miss Binny must like me the best. Ramona watched and listened as the other girls and boys arrived, and Miss Binny did not tell anyone that they were going to get a present if they sat in a certain chair. Ramona wondered if her present would be wrapped in fancy paper and tied with a ribbon like a birthday present. She so hoped so. As Ramona sat waiting for her present, she watched the other children being introduced to Miss Binny by their mothers. She found 2 members of the morning kindergarten especially interesting. One was a boy named Davy, who was small and eager and thin. He was the only boy in the class to wear short pants, and Ramona liked him at once. She liked him so much, she decided she would like to kiss him. The other interesting person was a big girl named Susan. Susan's hair looked like the hair on the girls in pictures of the old-fashioned stories Beezus liked to read. It was reddish-brown, and it hung in curls like springs that touched her shoulders and bounced as she walked. Ramona had never seen such curls before. All the curly-haired girls she knew wore their hair short. Ramona put her hand to her own short brown hair, which was straight and brown and and longed to touch that bright springy hair. She longed to stretch one of those curls and watch it spring back. Boing, thought Ramona, making a mental noise like a spring on a television cartoon and wishing for thick, springy, boing, boing hair like Susan's. Howie interrupted Ramona's admiration of Susan's hair. "How soon do you think we get to go out to play?" he asked. "Maybe after Miss Binny gives me my present," said Ramona. "She said I was going to get one." "How come she's going to give you a present?" Howie wanted to know. "She didn't say anything about giving me a present." "Well, maybe she likes me the best," said Ramona. This news did not make Howie happy. He turned to the next boy and said, "She's going to get a present." Ramona wondered how long she would have to sit here to get her present. If only Miss Binny understood how hard waiting was for her. When the last child had been welcomed and the last tearful mother had left, Miss Binny gave a little talk about the rules of kindergarten and showed the class where the bathroom was, and she assigned each person a little cupboard. Ramona's cupboard had a picture of a yellow duck on the door, and Howie's had a green frog. Miss Binny explained that their hooks in the cloakroom were marked with the same pictures, and then she asked the class to follow her quietly into the cloakroom to find their hooks. Difficult though waiting was for her, Ramona did not budge. Miss Binny had not told her to get up to go to the cloakroom for her present. She had told her to sit for her present, and Ramona was going to sit until she got it. She would sit as if she were glued to her chair. Howie scowled at Ramona as he returned from the cloakroom and said to another boy, "The teacher is going to give her a present." Naturally, the boy wanted to know why. "I don't know," admitted Ramona. "She just told me that if I sat here, I would get a present. I guess she likes me best." By the time Miss Binny returned from the cloakroom, word had spread around the classroom about Ramona getting a present. Next, Miss Binny taught the class the words of a puzzling song about the Donzerly light, which Ramona did not understand because she did not know what a donzer was. "Oh, say, can you see by the Donzerly light," sang Miss Binny, and Ramona decided that a donzer was another word for a lamp. When Miss Binny had gone over the song several times, she asked the class to stand and sing it with her. Ramona did not budge. Neither did Howie and some of the others, and Ramona knew they were hoping for a present. Copycats, she thought. "Stand up straight like good Americans," said Miss Binny, so firmly that Howie and the others reluctantly stood up. Ramona decided she would have to be a good American sitting down. "Ramona," said Miss Binny, "aren't you going to stand with the rest of us?" Ramona thought quickly. Maybe the question was some kind of test, like a test in a fairy tale. Maybe Miss Binny was testing her to see if she could get her out of her seat. If she failed the test, she would not get the present. "I can't," said Ramona. Miss Binny looked puzzled, but she did not insist that Ramona stand while she led the class through the Donzer song. Ramona sang along with the others and hoped that her present came next. But when the song ended, Miss Binny made no mention of the present. Instead, she picked up a book. Ramona decided at last it was time for them to learn to read. Miss Binny stood in front of her class and began to read aloud from Mike Mulligan and his Steam Shovel. This book was a favorite of Ramona's because, unlike so many books for her age, it was neither quiet and sleepy nor sweet and pretty. Ramona, pretending she was glued to her chair, enjoyed hearing the story again and listened quietly with the rest of the kindergarten to the story of Mike Mulligan's old-fashioned steam shovel. As Ramona listened, a question came into her mind, a question that had so often puzzled her about books that were read to her. Somehow, books always left out one of the most important things anyone would want to know. Now that Ramona was in school, and school was a place for learning, perhaps Miss Binny could answer the question. Ramona waited quietly until her teacher had finished the story, and then she raised her hand the way Miss Binny had told her that the class should raise their hands when they'd like to speak. Joey, who did not remember to raise his hand, spoke out. "That's a good book." Miss Binny smiled at Ramona and said, "I like the way Ramona remembers to raise her hand when she has something to say. Yes, Ramona?" Ramona's hope soared. Her teacher had smiled at her. "Miss Binny, I want to know, how did Mike Mulligan go to the bathroom when he was digging the basement of the town hall?" Miss Binny's smile seemed to last a lot longer than smiles usually last. Ramona glanced uneasily around and saw that the others were waiting with interest for the answer. Everyone wanted to know, how did Mike Mulligan go to the bathroom? Well, said Miss Benny at last, I don't really know, Ramona. The book doesn't tell us. I always wanted to know that too, said Howie, without raising his hand, and the others murmured in agreement. The whole class, it seemed, had all been wondering how Mike Mulligan went to the bathroom. Well, maybe he stopped the steam shovel and climbed out of the hole he was digging and went to the service station, suggested a boy named Eric. He couldn't. The book says he had to work as fast as he could all day long, Howie pointed out. It doesn't say he stopped. Miss Benny faced the 29 earnest members of the kindergarten, all of whom wanted to know how Mike Mulligan went to the bathroom. Boys and girls, she began, and spoke in a clear, distinct way. The reason the book does not tell us how Mike Mulligan went to the bathroom is that it is not important to the story. The story is about digging the basement of the town hall, and that is what the book tells us about. Miss Benny spoke as if this explanation ended the matter, but the kindergarten was not convinced. Ramona knew, the rest of the class knew, that knowing how to go to the bathroom was important. They were surprised that Miss Benny did not understand, because she had showed them the bathroom the very first thing. Ramona could see that there were some things she was not going to learn in school, and along with the rest of the class, she stared reproachfully at Miss Benny. The teacher looked embarrassed, as if she knew she had disappointed her kindergarten, but she recovered quickly, closed her book, and told the class that they would walk quietly out to the playground so she could teach them a game called Gray Duck. Ramona did not budge. She watched the rest of the class leave the room and admired Susan's boing-boing curls as they bounced about her shoulders, but she did not stir from her seat. Only Miss Benny could unstick the imaginary glue that was held her there. Don't you want to play Gray Duck, Ramona? Said Miss Benny. Ramona nodded. Yes, but I can't. Why not? Said Miss Benny. I can't leave my seat, said Ramona. When Miss Benny looked at her, she added, because of the present. What present? Miss Benny seemed to be genuinely puzzled that Ramona became uneasy. The teacher sat down in a little chair next to Ramona's and said, tell me why you can't play Gray Duck, Ramona. Ramona squirmed, worn out with waiting. She had an uneasy feeling that maybe something had gone wrong. Well, I want to play Gray Duck, but you... She stopped, feeling that she might be about to say the wrong thing. But I what? Asked Miss Benny. Well, you said if I sat here, I would get a present, said Ramona. But you didn't say how long I had to sit here. Miss Benny had looked puzzled before, and now she looked baffled. Ramona, I don't understand, she began. Yes, you did, said Ramona, nodding. You told me, sit here for the present, and I have been sitting here ever since school started, and you still haven't given me a present. Miss Benny's face turned red, and she looked so embarrassed that Ramona felt completely confused. Teachers were not supposed to look that way. Miss Benny spoke gently. Ramona, I am afraid we have had a misunderstanding. Ramona was blunt. You mean I don't get a present? I'm afraid not, added Miss Benny. You see, for the present means for now. I meant that I wanted you to sit here for now, because later I may have children sit at different desks. Oh. Ramona was so disappointed she had nothing to say. Words were so puzzling. Present should mean present, just as attack should mean to stick tacks in people. By now, all the children were crowding around the door to see what had happened to their teacher. I'm so sorry, said Miss Benny. It's all my fault. I should have used different words. That's all right, said Ramona, ashamed to have the class see that she was not going to get a present after all. We're going to leave right there at that part. That's a good stopping place, because next you'll get to go out and learn to play the game called Gray Duck. What did you think of that? Poor Ramona. She thought she was getting a present, and she really wasn't. Has anything ever happened like that to you, where you got confused by something an adult said that didn't seem to make any sense to you? To Ramona, when someone says, sit here for the present, that means she's getting a present. But her teacher just meant, sit here for now. Poor Ramona. Hopefully things will get better for her on her first day of kindergarten next time we read. Until then, see you later.